5 o'clock, you're good to go.
Okay. Well, hi everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Stephanie Schroeder, and I am the Publicity Director for Gift Books at Thomas Nelson, which is a division of HarperCollins Christian Publishing. I'm thrilled to introduce you to our author, Stephanie Fleming, the brilliant mind behind Plan a Happy Life, Define Your Passion, Nurture Your Creativity, and Take Hold of Your Dreams, which goes on sale this week, tomorrow, in fact. Thank you all for tuning into this special webinar with us today. It should be a real treat for you. Those of you here today most likely already know a bit about Stephanie. You know that she is a creative entrepreneur, speaker, optimist, and wellness seeker. You might know her as one of the co-founders of Me and My Big Ideas, a business that began in her garage and is now an industry-leading lifestyle brand. You might also know that Stephanie made the decision to retire, but she's keeping busier than ever with the upcoming launch of this amazing book. Stephanie is also married to Kevin, has 2 grown children and 3 amazing grandchildren. She is on a mission to create a happy life movement by empowering people everywhere to take control of their own happiness by embracing planning, positivity, and all things creative. We're so happy to have Stephanie here with us online today in such a special capacity exclusively to you and to Michael's. If you feel so moved, please join me in giving Stephanie a warm welcome with a virtual round of applause. So we are going to be talking about chapter 1 of Plan a Happy Life today, which is about creating happiness. So first off, Steph, let's talk about how all of this started. When did you really focus on an intentional journey with happiness?
It looks like she may have fallen off the call.
Oh. Webinars in the time of COVID.
Yes. Please, everyone, just give us a few minutes while we problem solve, and then we'll be right back to it.
I saw some people mention in the chat that you can only see me right now, and we're working on a bit of a technical difficulty, so we're waiting for Steph to make her way back. So please hold on. And I just saw someone say how excited they are to be here. So we're excited you're all here with us. Thank you for joining.
And also wanted to share something since people are asking. All 3 sessions are going to be different. It won't be the same thing. So the next 2, which are later this week, will be different than today's, with focus on different chapters.
It's really cool to see where everybody is joining from all around the United States. And I even saw some in Canada and Mexico. So welcome from wherever you're tuning in today. Sweden, wow. There's quite a bit of activity happening over in the chat. I noticed a couple people asked how long today's session would be, and we're aiming for about an hour today. Someone said this only builds up the suspense, and I agree.
Unmute. Okay, wait. Okay.
Hey!
Hi, Stacy.
If I'd
my
have known,
God.
I would have done a drum roll sound.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. We sat there for what, a half an hour on like a pre-call, and as soon as Stephanie started talking, it just dropped me off. So I'm so sorry.
We were joking around that these are webinars in the time of COVID. You're just kicked off, or never a dull moment. So
It was great technical thing. We had so much time on our hands, and then all of a sudden it's like, just kidding.
It's the irony of you being a planner and then all the things that are unplanned. So for the people, there were some people who said this built up their suspense. So
we totally did this on purpose.
So we'll just jump right into the questions here. First off, Steph, let's talk about how this all started. When did you really focus on an intentional journey with happiness?
Oh my gosh. So it's really funny because actually what led me to like really talk about intentionally or focus on intentionally planning for happiness was when I just was really unhappy and I didn't even know what happiness looked like. I was going through a divorce and going through a really hard time in my life. And I was like, for the first time in a long time, I'd had like some actual time for myself as a 38-year-old woman to sit down and go, okay, my life's kind of in the shambles right now and I need to focus on what makes me happy. And I had no idea what that was. I mean, beyond the fact that I loved my children and I was a mom, I loved being a mom. That was about all I could identify with. So I really did a lot of internal soul searching to figure out, well, this is kind of ridiculous. I'm 38 years old and I don't even know what makes me happy. And so I started with something just super, super small, like writing anything down that made me happy. And I just kept working at it. I kept growing and it kept evolving and figuring out like, hey, I am the only one that can define this for myself. And if I don't do it, I'm going to be sitting around, in the wings and of just waiting for life to happen. And so during that time that was the darkest for me was when I decided, this is where I need to really take control of what actually makes me happy.
Yeah, it's interesting that came about from something horrible in your life, because I think, even in the times we're in right now, people, there are just so many elements that are going on where I think that we're all kind of wondering what's next. And we think that a lot of things have changed and, realizing how time is important. So do you feel like right now, like, have you ever reflected on why right now might, even though you didn't plan it this way, why this book was really relevant for these times we're in?
Oh yeah, when I posted about this on my Instagram because I really struggled with the timing at first of the release of the book. Stephanie, that it's taken over 2 years to write the book, go from concept to where it is today to where it releases. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like at a time when everyone is going through some of the most difficult times and challenging times and unhappy, does the idea of a book called Plan a Happy Life seem tone deaf, or like I can't read the room.
Mm-hmm.
But and I had to settle with that for a little bit. I had to think about it. And the more I did, the more I just kind of saw what was happening. I was able to relate it back to that time for me where it was like, the most difficult time in my life was when I really got in touch with who I was, who I wanted to be, and what I wanted my life to look like. And it was empowering during one of the, darkest, lowest times of my life. So it really kind of renewed my commitment and my, my passion for what the content of the book actually is, which is, this isn't just about like, let's skip through life. This book is about how you take times, how you experience the joy when times are beautiful, but also how do you live through times like what we're going through right now without just like going, this is the worst thing ever. How do you find those little sparks of joy?
You have to find the nugget somewhere.
Right.
So with that in mind, I love that our first webinar is just chapter 1, right from the beginning. So the first chapter of the book is all about creating happiness. So why, you say in the book, why is creativity an essential part of planning a happy life?
It was really funny to start the book because, one of the most challenging things for me was what goes where and what do you start with? And, and for me, creativity has always been how I have defined myself and how what's inside of me and what I've been uniquely blessed with, how that it like shows up in the world. And so this concept of nurturing your creativity and using that, like what you discover as the first step to planning a happy life it really kind of was actually an eye opener for me because that's where it started. I have always grown up nurturing my creativity, even when I didn't know that, because I was really fortunate enough to grow up in a family where, my mom was in touch with her creativity and really just was something that encouraged like all of us kids to do, to the point where it was so ingrained in me, I didn't really know anything different. And so when I think about creativity, so many people think of it as, are you a painter? Are you, the creative arts? And I see creativity as a way, it's like, what is inside of you? What is something, it's going to help you define your purpose, right? And your passions. And that is like how you like start down the path to a happy life and what makes you happy. So whether it's, I always say like computer programming, I always use that because it's the farthest thing that I can do, or, whether you're addicted and you love numbers and figuring out creative solutions to problems, or you want to go to the moon or whatever. I guess people have already done that. So wherever else you go farther than that, Mars, that is a creative expression, maybe that. So to me, it just seemed like a natural first step. And also one, I think that a lot of people, it's a barrier to entry, right? Like there's a lot of people who don't know how to express themselves creatively or have a fear of expressing themselves. So I wanted to kind of address that first as a way to like, how do we nurture and embrace that as that first step?
Well, and even I appreciate your vulnerability in the book where you talk about not knowing what your purpose or creative talents were even 10 years ago, and that you needed to put some work into finding those things. So what did that work look like for you?
I took a lot of online classes. I think it was kind of at the beginning where like everybody had like an online class. And so I signed up for like every one of them. And because my son had just gone off to college, my daughter was in high school and was like, mildly interested in wanting to hang out with me. And so I just had all this time. I was separated and, just trying to figure things out. So I took classes, I went to therapy, I journaled, I spent time alone, I talked to friends. I did anything, I guess too, for me, I didn't go to college. I was 18 and pregnant and went from being somebody's daughter and being a high school student to being someone's mother. And didn't go to college, then went and started working and became someone's wife and then a mother again. And I pride myself in being a good mom, but I just I didn't have that time that a lot of people do have after high school or even during high school to say, all right, now's my time to figure me out. And so I didn't have that. So I just did that whole like, okay, what is Stephanie? And to be honest with you, I didn't know it, but I don't even think I had cultivated who I was. So I was starting from like scratch. Like when I talk to you about I talk about a happy list that I started with, and I actually almost came to tears because I couldn't figure out what to write down until somebody said, start with just the most basic truth. And it could be like, it doesn't even have to be profound. What is something that everybody knows about you? And the only thing that I could really think of at the time, besides being a mom, was that I just was obsessed with peanut butter. I love peanut butter on everything. And it went from that to like, oh, I like going to Angels games. I like, the smell of fresh cut grass, and I like fall. Well, why do you like fall? I like fall because it makes me feel cozy. I guess because I like to, I'm nurturing, and I like to create my, it starts from there. And so I started small and then just did a bunch of work.
Yeah. So for anybody who's thinking about, trying something new or a creative pursuit, I think there are a few of us out there who strive to be perfectionists, even if it's something that we haven't tried before. So I really love the statement in your book, allow yourself to be less than perfect. So as someone who also likes peanut butter and is also named Stephanie, I'm going to admit that I'm a recovering perfectionist. Is that something else that we have in common?
Yes, I am definitely when I say I'm a recovering perfectionist, which we all know it doesn't ever go away. I am a recovering people pleaser, and I am a perfectionist. All the things that held me back that I thought were going to define me, or at least help me in the world, right? Because if all these people liked me, and if all these people thought I was successful because they thought that I did it perfectly, because that's what I was setting out to do, right? Achieve their idea of perfection, then I would be worthy. I would be not that 18-year-old pregnant prom queen, that I'm going to show you because I'm going to do it so perfectly that you're going to go, oh my God, I can't believe she really did have her act together, Yeah. So I had something to prove, and I wanted people to like me, desperately. And, but I didn't like me. And so, and none of that perfectionism ever made me feel worthy, ever. Because I wasn't doing it for the right reasons. I was doing it for everybody else's approval to make me feel, the way I thought I could feel through that. So yeah, and I struggle with perfectionism every day, because then I procrastinate and all the things, but there's something about when you're aware of it, it makes it at least you.
Admitting it is the first step.
That's true. That's true. And then you just do the work every day.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's hope for all of us.
Yes.
In terms of something else that can hold people back, that fear can be a huge element of what holds us back from pursuing our big dreams. So how do you attack that fear monster and quiet the thoughts to tell us we're not ready, or we're not good enough, or we don't have X quality to tackle our dreams?
Fear is I would have never identified as somebody who was fearful when I was probably the most fearful, because it seemed to me like I had this idea that fear was, fear. And really I was afraid to be judged. I was afraid that people would see that, oh my gosh, we had this perception of you. You don't live up to that at all. So much fear for me. And even down to the point where when you talk about being a perfectionist, this is something that's you may laugh. You can laugh with me because I can laugh with me now. But I was so afraid to do something wrong that when I was going through this divorce, and I thought, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to be a big girl in the world, and I'm going to do things on my own. And I can't parallel park to save my life. And I was okay, so I'm going to go down to the beach because I love the beach. I'm just going to walk around by myself, alone time. And I'm going to go down there, and I had this paralyzing fear. Well, at the beach, you have to parallel park, so I'm not going to go. And I didn't go. And so finally I asked myself, and this is how to answer your question, and I usually give, making a long story longer,
Tell me everything.
I just asked myself, what is the worst that could happen? If I can handle the worst that can happen for whatever I'm afraid of, then it gives me that permission to say, then go for it. You know, the worst that can happen in that situation is I can't find a parking space that I can park in, and I turn around and I go home. I can handle that. So, you know, and shockingly not, you know, I get down there and I can find a parking space and I have to watch a beautiful sunset, and I have this experience in my life that I never would have had if I let that silly fear. But you can use that same concept with anything else. You know, if one of the things that you're afraid of, like you take something on the opposite side of the spectrum and say, you know, I'm terrified to jump out of an airplane. Well, what's the worst that could happen is, well, I could die. And I am not comfortable with that outcome. Some people might go, you know what? You know what? I've looked at all of the things and I'm comfortable with it. I'm not. It's not something I do. That's not a fear I face. So that question, I think, is a very helpful thing to have you just start taking those baby steps that you need to face your fears, however small and, you know, related to parallel parking that they may be, or jumping out of an airplane.
Well, and I think it's interesting because I think that fear and sadness sort of align themselves with each other, because if you would prevent yourself from going to the beach because you were scared of parallel parking, you're depriving yourself of that happiness. And if watching sunsets are on your happy list, as I'm sure they are, I know they are because I've read your book, you know, that it's sort of like a cost. What's the cost and what's the cost benefit, you know, when you look at it that way.
Exactly. And I think, you know, fear has stopped me from a lot of things in my life. A lot of them have to do with the beach, which I love and now live by. But, you know, I didn't like the way I looked in a bathing suit. I judged myself so harshly. And so for a long time, I didn't go. And I deprived myself from being down there with my kids and enjoying because what? I wasn't a size 2, you know, and I didn't like fit the stereotype of what I thought a bikini body was supposed to look like. I missed out. And I finally got to a place in my life later, so which is why please read the book and like understand that you don't have to wait till you're 38, 48 years old. Like I got to the point I'm going like, I'm wearing the bathing suit, I'm going in the pool with my grandkids, I'm going wherever. And if somebody doesn't like it, they don't have to look at me. You know, if somebody, you know, you don't want to let that fear keep you from things, because yes, there is that sadness of missing out. And there's so much of life to be enjoyed, and, you know, learning how to deal with and because the fear's not going to go away, but knowing how to deal with it when it comes up.
Right. I think that theme of timing is sort of woven all throughout the book, in terms like it's never, not to quote something that really belongs on a pillow or a plaque above your desk, but, you know, every day is sort of a chance to start over. And I love that you talk about how intentional, you know, happiness is, whether you are 38, 48, you know, 78, it's never too late to work these things into your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, one of the things that I wanted the book to be was a toolkit. And one of the things I didn't want it to be was like a prescription, because I don't have all of the answers to how to make you happy. I don't have the answers to tell you, if you do X, Y, and Z my way, you will be happy. What I do know is that throughout our lives, and again, this is such a cliche, but it's a journey. It's a road that you're going to walk down your whole life, whatever this experience is for you. And you will come across times where you are just joyful and blissful, and it's wonderful. And then there are going to be times when you go through and you're struggling, you know, and what the book is a way to look and say, yes, it's the timing of our lives, it's what's happening. And then it's how you deal with what shows up, because life's going to throw, if there's one thing we can count on, is that life is going to change. Things will change. You will encounter hardships and struggles and joys and all of those things. And you learning how to deal with that in a way that supports your happiness and what the vision is that you have for your life is one of the most effective tools that I've learned. And that's why I was just so excited to actually get it, you know, in a book form, so that, you know, I love to talk. I mean, this is, you know, not a shocker to anybody, but there's only so many people I can talk to. And yes, I stop people on the streets and do this all the time, and to the, you know, to the horror of my family usually. But like, I wanted to be able to share those things that I had learned. At least that had worked for me. And hopefully it could be maybe a tool for other people to say, hey, you know, maybe these 10 things work for her and these 5 are amazing and work for me too. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, going back to the concept of designing, you know, this happy life and how creativity plays a part in it, people often think of creative endeavors as huge things, like you were saying before, like being a painter or a writer. But why do you think it's important for someone to take a few minutes to doodle or try a new recipe or sing in the shower? All of which you mentioned in your book.
Yes. I think it's just a way to get out of your head. Don't take yourself so seriously. Don't take the outcome so seriously. Creativity is a muscle that needs to be exercised. And if we're too concerned with perfection or the final outcome, or we don't learn, we don't experience, we don't appreciate it, and sometimes we don't even start. So I've taken like intuitive painting classes where I have like, nobody wants this painting. I guarantee you, nobody wants it. No one wants to look at it. It's really not cute at all. But, you know, it was all about me like getting over myself and like, you know, putting music on and like just putting paint on my fingers and like, you know, painting around and not caring. And I've tried all kinds of things like that. I'm not the best cook, but I try and do things like that as well. And, you know, and then occasionally you've come across something, you go, oh man, I am really good at this and I like it. And you kind of go down that road. But if you don't start something, I don't know, that's where I feel like people get stuck. And you know, sometimes you just need to create for the sake of creating. That's just make something, just do something. Just, you know, we were created to create. And it's up to us to figure out what that is that we're supposed to be creating in this world.
Mm-hmm. Well, someone's story who inspired me in the book, and I love how it's your story, but then there are also call outs and snippets of other people's story as well. I found your mom's contribution so inspiring because she really wanted to renovate a house and she decided to knock down some walls, and, you know, she said she didn't care if it was 2 bedrooms and, you know, it might affect the resale value, but she really wanted to renovate and she had a blast. So, and she just had this great list of creative pursuits as well. So what is she up to these days?
She just finished renovating another house. She doesn't stop. She's doing really great. She's retired now for a while, which for somebody who's as driven as my mom is, was very difficult. She's the one that taught me to, you know, to be as resilient as I am and to be as creative as I am. But she is like, she's one of those people who has reinvented herself. When, you know, you see her, she's like, okay, now I'm retired, and she's single. So she lives alone with my 2 sisters. Those are her whippets. And she's like, you know, okay, well, I think I'm a little bored right now. You know what I want to do? My mom has actually gone on like, when she went through a divorce, she actually said, you know what, I'm going to go on a photo expedition in Yellowstone in the winter, which she had never done before. She's not a photographer. She's not a, you know, backpacker, but she was just like, I'm just going to try something different. You know, she's gone in Christmas at a particularly, you know, at a Christmas time, she was kind of like, you know, I'm not really doing too much. And yes, I love Christmas, but you know what, she took my daughter to Machu Picchu, you know, to go and like do something unique. And she's not afraid to travel and try something new. And so right now, one of the things my mom does so well is make a house a home. And she just kind of has that knack. And so I think that's why she, like, you know, she took this house, which anyone would have said, you don't take a house where this house is that had, I don't know, 4 or 5 bedrooms and knock it down into a 2-bedroom. But she's like, but that's what's going to make me happy. Yeah. I'm going to go here, and I'm not doing it. You know, this wasn't an investment property, so she didn't make those decisions for that reason. But she's like, this is going to be my sanctuary, my house, my oasis. And I want to do what's going to make me happy. And oh my gosh, you go there and I'm like, okay, so where's the registration desk? Like, where do we check in? It's amazing. So yeah, she's doing good. She's doing the same stuff. She's inspired me always, even when I was, a kid and probably was like, every other kid, like, oh my God, you're so lame.
Yeah. What a great example though. I love your mom and I've never met your mom. So
You'll have to come to that. You'll have to come to her oasis.
I guess so. So in the book you write, make room in your life for whatever it is that brings you joy. We have about 1,300 people on right now. I'm sure there might be someone who's thinking, I don't have time to be creative. What would you say to them?
I would say I don't think you have time to not be creative, because, time is our most precious commodity. You can't get more of it. You have one life to live. We don't know how long we have. And, I think too, I've been a busy mom. I've been a mom who had 2 kids, worked 11-hour days for 8 years, and doing, in-home daycare. And I know what it means to not have a second to breathe or go to the bathroom without your kids, like, wanting to get in. But I think you can find time for little things, for, let's say, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like something little. I don't care if it's as little as I want to journal a little bit, or I just want to take some, what my kids are coloring. I'm going to take the crayons too, and I'm just going to play around with these colors a little bit, or I'm going to finger paint with them. I'm going to, if you, instead of, and I don't mean this in a way where I'm not honoring the fact that I understand people are busy.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can switch the thought process to looking for opportunities to be creative in your life, like I said, you're sitting down with your kids, instead of just going like, okay, they're going to color, I'm going to got to make sure that they walk to the Play-Doh, play with the Play-Doh with them, like make a little something, bring them in the kitchen, and I'm focusing on moms because so many moms have, such little time, but, look for the opportunities, because just like when you're trying to, look for things to be thankful for, when you walk out that door, if you think today is a crappy day and it's going to be terrible because it's hot and humid, and I know that this is going to happen, everything that you go outside thinking of is going to be so bad, you're going to notice every, thing that's, kind of not so great happening in your day. And conversely, if you go outside thinking like, okay, I'm going to have a good day, or I'm going to at least, maybe even I'm having a really tough time right now, but I'm going to walk through my day and think about the time, like, what can I see? What is going to be beautiful? What can I be thankful for? The little blessings in life. You can do that with creativity also, where it's like, looking for those little times where you can express yourself creatively, whether it's volunteering for something, or, and it doesn't have to be every single day. It doesn't have to be a big, huge project, but I would challenge you to, just look for that tiny little 5 minutes a day, because again, it's a muscle that needs to be exercised. And the more you do, the more you're going to get used to, looking and finding and seeing those opportunities when they present themselves to you. Because I think they're there around you all the time, but when we're busied, we don't see it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I love in the book, there's a phrase that I identified with a lot just because I had recently read it, a similar version of it somewhere else, but you said, find the things that set your soul on fire. And I love, you also said, find the things that make your soul sing. So what makes your soul sing these days?
Oh, well, I'm in the middle right now, since I'm recently retired from my actual day job. I'll always be a passionate, happy planner and creative person, and spreading my, love and passion for all things positive. And, but, retirement, which is something I'm going, okay, my husband retired last year. It's left me in this place where I'm very thankful to be, but I'm having to go through this process all over again, not because I'm unhappy, but because times change, right? So I'm looking and going like, okay, so one of the things that used to set my soul on fire and that I loved so much was being an entrepreneur. And what I loved starting things from scratch, and I loved sharing them with people and stuff. And but I was in business for over 20 years. And when you own and run your own business, it's makes childcare look like kind of a little bit of not a breeze, but I mean, we worked 24/7 basically. And so coming to this place right now where I have like some margin to breathe and some space to think a little bit for myself and my life, I'm kind of in a similar spot. Like, what is this section of my life look like? What does this part of my life? And to be honest with you, I am doing all of the pages in here. You can see like I'm working. And it's different for me than when I wrote it. It's different for me than when I did, when I went through it 10 years ago. It's a practice that like this process works for me. And so I thought what a better, opportunity than to say, when I first got this and after I stopped smelling all the pages, like a weirdo. After I
does that too. It's the first thing she does. She cracks the spine and she smells the pages.
Smells so good. Bookstore. And so once I did that, I was like, this is the perfect opportunity. I'm at the doorstep again of this new part of my life. And I want to be able to I want to be able to really define what makes me happy. And I want to create a plan to go out and really actively pursue that. So to answer your question, I don't really know. I love being a grandma. I love just trying to nest in my home. But beyond that, like what's really making my heart, I don't really know. I love sharing things. I love connecting with people. I just don't know how that's going to present itself and how that's going to look in this section of my life, but I'm super excited to find out. And, and I think that I'm following along in the book with everybody else who's getting it just for the first time.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that you say that you don't have all the answers and you're not, it's not prescriptive, but it's very tactical and you're willing to share your method. And so thank you for trying to help us all figure that out as well. So when you're thinking of your book, and it's such a pretty book. I mean, come on.
Oh, so cute. She's so cute.
So when you think about the person on the other end reading that book, I guess, what is your ultimate hope for her? And out of all your advice or tips, I guess, what are something really important you'd want her to take away?
The very most important thing for me, I think, and when my life actually just did a complete 180. And when it changed was the moment, and I talk about, there's a chapter in the book where I talk about is you have to believe that you are worthy of a happy life, just the way you are, just right now, not when I lose 20 pounds, not when I get this degree, not when I'm in a relationship or get married or have this job or none of those. And I don't mean just say it or write it down, but do the work to say, I am worthy of this happy life right now, no matter what, just because I am, just because I'm here. And yeah, I have work to do and I can do those things, but they don't define my worth. And none of that has anything to do with the fact that I'm worthy. So if you take nothing else from the book, but you can say, you know what, but I've learned that I'm worthy of all of it, of love, acceptance, and success and happiness, then I'll be a happy camper. Because I think that if you just get that far, I think things in your life will change. You're going to make decisions that you wouldn't make otherwise if you didn't believe that. You're not going to allow things in your life that aren't worthy of you, So, I hope that if you go beyond that, I hope someone's able to just realize that throughout this life, you have the ability to reflect on what makes you happy, reflect on, just who you are. Even like, the tagline for the book, which is define your passion, nurture your creativity, and take hold of your dreams. That's a lot. And it's an ongoing process. So I'd hope that somebody would just read it now, dive in and get as much as you can where you are right now, and then open it back up in 6 months or read it again in 12 months or 3 years when you're in a different spot.
Yeah. I also recognize that I framed that question for our female audience, but, I think that anybody can use happiness in their lives. So I apologize to our male participants on the webinar. That was not intentional, but I think that advice and that system can definitely work for anybody.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think we've been in a place where, number one, I've connected really with our products and the planner products. Our customers have primarily been women, so there's been a lot of focus there. But we've also embraced anybody. I mean, especially when it comes to just the book. This is something that I think in a toolbox that no matter who you are, that it can work for. This is not something that, it's a good point, because it's not really just a method that works for women. This is just about you being happy, you believing that you are worthy of it, and then going forward and just going, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this plan and figure it out, and I'm going to go get it.
Well, and I'm sure that, at home, I'm sure you and your husband have sort of gone through the steps and worked on plans and dreams and those things together. So I think, people can do it individually or, as part of a unit. So, that's really exciting. So I see that our chat is extremely active.
I see that. I'm trying not to be distracted.
The Q&A, the numbers just keep going up. So I think that we should open it up to some audience questions. How about that?
Yeah, I would love that.
Okay.
Well, ladies, a lot of people are asking what's special about the Michaels edition.
Oh, I have it right here. This was the first one that I got. So the Michaels edition has, let's see, it's got 8 pages, I think, of bonus content. And what it includes are, there's steps to do what I call them happiness maps, but they're like mind maps or radial maps where you start off with a concept in the middle and then you kind of just do like a brainstorm. So in the Michaels version, and it's one of the things that when I get stuck at that place in my life where I talk about it in the book, but the Michaels section in the back actually has blank spaces for you to go through several different things, what makes you happy. And it's when I get to that place where you're like going, okay, I'm in retirement right now, to say, okay, so what makes me happy? That's how I start. You just start writing all the things that make you happy. If I write, and I have an example of it kind of here where it's like, if you start off with one, being with my husband makes me happy. Well, what makes me happy about that? You kind of just go, and if you let your mind just like burst with those things, you're going to find some things that you didn't even realize that you liked or why you liked them. So the Michaels version has several. What's important to me? What are my strengths? What do I love about myself? How can I connect with others? And, just has some really pretty things in the back too. So that you can do your happy maps right here in the book. Because I, was talking to some members of our team before the call, because I'm like, this book, as pretty as it is, and as much as some of you I know really like to keep your books pristine, my hope is that you open it up and get your pen, your favorite pen, and like write all over it. Do all the exercises, do all of the happiness maps in the back, and just like, write all in it. That's what I'm doing. And it just makes it feel just, loved. And then it makes it really an active, you're actively planning your life and you're doing those exercises. But yeah, in the back for the Michaels edition, it's just I think it's a good way for you to be able, like I said, to have it all in one spot. So you're working on the questions and then you actually can go back and you think, oh my gosh, what else? I'm going to, what else makes me happy? And you just flip your book open.
Okay, great. Thanks, Steph.
Yeah.
Steph has a good question. She asks, when you were designing the Happy Planner brand, were these ideals in the back of your mind to exude positivity and cuteness right down to the hearts? And then were you shocked by the popularity of it?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I think if anybody goes into something that's like, you know what, this thing, I know it's going to explode. I mean, you hope, but so let me answer the first question was, yes, one of the things that I did after my husband now and I got married, who was the CEO of our company, who's since retired, but Kevin and I have been married now, well, we've been together like 11 years or something. Anyway, when we first got together and had moved in together, I went through another phase of, okay, now there's this phase in my life and what makes me happy. And I wrote a personal mission statement on what I wanted, because again, I was a little bit like, okay, there's this new phase in my life. And one of the things was I wanted to share my passion for positivity with people and share my experiences that I've gone through in my life in order to, you know, help people, you know, plan and live happily. This was before the Happy Planner. So even just knowing that, putting it on vision boards, really was in the back of my head, not really knowing. And then when we found the planner idea, I was like, I really want to do this planner. Worked with our team, my sister, my mom, our product development team of designers, and everything down to the things that we wanted were those things that were in that mission statement, which are, you know, we want people to have a place that, of course, looks cute, it's affordable, but it's filled with positivity. So as you're going through and you're planning this beautiful, happy life of yours, you have a wonderful place to do that in. And then our team, you know, said, what about hearts? And it just really came together. And I think that team effort of everybody just putting all that love into this product line really helped connect with the consumers and with, you know, the planner community as it was back then. And I've been blown away ever since at how it was perceived, and just honored and humbled that so many people love this product that I love and that we love at the Happy Planner. That's a good question.
Well, here's another good question. People are asking, how should I read and interact with the book? Carve out a weekend, a chapter per week?
So here's the thing. So I, depending on what, you have to make it work for you. So if you're someone who is just struggling, going, my kids are going back to school, they're having school at home, I'm working from home and I don't know how to, like, you know, get everything, don't put that pressure on yourself to say you've got to get the whole book read. Flip through it and see what you stop at. If you are going like, hey, I'm ready for a deep dive into, and I'm ready for this, like I say, get out your pen, you know, have some time every day and read it, and do the exercises and think on it. Really think about the questions. Don't just write them down for, you know, sake of writing it down and answering the questions, because you don't get graded on it. No one's going to say, oh, she did it in this much amount of, you know, this much time. You want to make it work. I'm actually doing and hosting a virtual book club because I want to be able to walk through this book with you. It will be available always. I'm doing it. You can go on stephaniefleming.com. There's just a place to sign up for the book club. And it starts September 6th. And you can walk, it's a month long. So it's like one of the sections, there's 4 sections and there's one a week. And then we kind of go through some exercises in there to just like take it a little bit further. However, if you aren't ready for that during the month of September and you want to wait, that stuff will live on, that content will live on. So you can take it at your own pace. So just make it work for you and know what you can do right now, how much you can bite off.
This is kind of part 2 of that question. Do you recommend reading this as a self-care project or with my family?
With your family? Is that the second part of the question?
Yes, like reading it. So really asking if it's a self-care project.
I think it could be both, really. I mean, I wrote it, I think, as, hey, this is what you can do, you know, really get in touch with what you want in your happy life. But I mean, what a gift for your family. You know, if you're able to read this and go through this with your family, or read it and do it for yourself and then go through it with your family as well. I mean, what a gift to give children, or, you know, to do with a spouse. Kevin and I talk about a lot. Stephanie said that we talk about a lot of the things in here, and we do some of these exercises, like what's making you happy right now as a couple. So, you know, maybe that's the next one. All right, is plan a happy life for couples, plan a happy life for families. But I think that's I actually hadn't even thought about doing it as a family, but yeah, what a great thing to teach your kids from a young age.
Steph, is there something you do differently every day because of your new happy insights?
Oh, that's a good question. You know, the one thing that I've learned to do is to evolve and learn. I'm always learning and realizing that I don't know everything, and that's actually a really powerful thing to know. And the reason I say that in as it pertains to like happiness and how, like, now that I'm like have this positive and this is the practices that I have, is because if you're not learning all the time and you're very stuck in your ways, or you know, I just feel like the learning person is a happier person. You go through your life just like open right? And I'm not as hard on myself because I've already given myself permission that I don't have to have all the answers. I don't have to know everything. And being a perfectionist is something where you feel like you have to do everything so perfectly and have all the answers and stuff. But if you let yourself have beginner's mind, you heard that phrase before, beginner's mind, then, you give yourself a lot more grace as you walk through life.
Excellent. And a lot of people are asking if it works for everyone. Is it good for teenage girls?
Oh,
Speak a little bit to that.
I mean, okay, can I talk to teenage girls? Because I've been one. I think there's a lot of things where I'm going like, I think it would be great. I think it would be great for everybody. I think it would be great for teenage boys. I've just never been a teenage boy. But I know that teenage girls especially, there's so much pressure on them to be all the things, to be too old, to be too perfect, to be too everything, to have it all together. And we're so hard on ourselves at that age. And so just learning that first part that I said, like learning to know that you're worthy just as you are, and that you don't have to compete on social media, and you don't have to be this perfect influencer. And then being able to say at a young age, imagine as a teenager to say, to develop these tools to ask yourself, what makes me happy? Who do I want to be? How am I going to be that person? How do I put this plan in? I think for a teenager period, it would be an amazing tool.
And Yvette asks, have you met people from other walks of life through this process? How has this journey changed your outlook?
Going through, I'll tell you this, is that as much as when I started to become one of the spokespeople for the Happy Planner, one of the opportunities that I got from the beginning was, can you come speak on behalf of the Happy Planner? And at first I was like, I don't want to do that. I'm much more comfortable being behind the scenes, if you can believe it, because now I'm kind of outspoken, but I kind of was a much more personal, private person back then. But I decided to be brave with my life and say, I love this planner and what it can do for people so much that I am going to challenge myself to go speak to people about it. And in doing so, I got to meet people all over the country, and that were from all different walks of life, that shared how the Happy Planner and planning in their planners and focusing on the things that made them happy and grateful, and actually putting together a plan and being creative in their planners, how it had changed their lives in the most simple ways to some of the most profound and touching ways. And so that gave me, and this was before I wrote the book, so it kind of was a proof of concept for me, where it wasn't just me and my world and in my situation, but it was every time I would sit and we would talk, and I would talk to hundreds of people, and they would share their stories about how, well, when I did this, this is how I felt. And when I took control and I was battling depression, or I was trying to pay off debt, or I was trying to, move on from the death of a family member, or I was just trying to find myself again, or find time to be creative for me. And they would actively carve out the time and a plan to do that in their planner. And when they did that, things changed for them. That to me is an example of defining what they wanted and doing something about it, however small, however big, and it making a difference in their lives. So that's been one of the greatest joys that I've had since, coming out with the Happy Planner. And it's one that I think I'll miss the most as I retire.
Okay. Speaking of retirement, some people are asking about what's next. Will you be attending different events, and what's next for you?
I don't know what's next, to be honest. I'm kind of letting myself just have that, especially after, like, with the book coming out, I haven't really slowed down that much. But once that kind of like settles a little bit, I'm going to allow myself some time to see where I want to go. What do I want to do? I originally would have told you I would have wanted to travel, but we can't really go anywhere. So I need to do some adjustment on that. But I don't know. I can tell you this, is that I will go forward just really chasing my passions. And whether that is, I want to be the most present and loving mother and grandmother and wife, then that's what I'll do. You know, if it doesn't have any, there's no business, there's no, you know, no new business, no venture, nothing like that. But if that's what makes me happy, then that's what I will chase. And as far as events, I'm not sure. I would really love to go Wild next year. I don't know what capacity that would be in, but I've gone as a speaker for several years, and I would love to just maybe go sometime as an attendee and just like hang out with the planner babes, and you know. So I don't know. That's really the long and short of it, is that I'm just letting myself discover what's next. I don't really know.
There are a lot of questions about your book club. You definitely piqued people's interest. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So the reason again, somebody was saying, you have a website. I thought you retired. I'm like, it's basically just to house the book club. So the reason I wanted to do this was because for all the people that we're kind of just wanting to have almost like a friend walk you through this, like the days when you could sit and have a book club and sit in each other's living rooms and hang out and, you know, let's talk about this. I wanted to have a virtual place for us to do that. And that way it allows me to share a little bit of my commentary, give you some questions that I call them level up questions, where it just really takes a little bit of a deeper dive into what the chapter has talked about. And then I have a couple of things that are optional. One is a creative challenge, and one is a hands-on challenge. So there's a couple different things where just, hey, you want to go even deeper into this? How about try these things? And again, you could do this next year. You could read the book now, and then you could go back, or you could follow along with us. So it's all self-paced, but I'm going to be going through it with you. Starting on September 6th, and then every Sunday through the month of September, we'll be starting the new one of the 4 sections of the book. And then, yeah, but then even that part of it will still live on after I've done the walkthrough. So I'm excited about that.
People are very excited about the product. So one question is, are the planners designed to go with this book? Maybe you can speak a little bit about some of the new product offering.
So, okay, so the product offering, and I have some of mine sitting here, but and the Happy Planner, I believe now has a preview page, and I think michaels.com will start to have this online as well. But the product it's designed, it's coordinated, right? So this got quotes from the book. It has, I'm trying to get not glare, colors from the book, and it has some of the practices like the Happy Planner. This is a Plan a Happy Life journal that has places for you to record your gratitude and also just a daily reflection. And there's like half sheets, pages that punch into your planner, but that are, you know, utilize something I talk about in the book called the Happy List. So yes, it coordinates with it, but it's also just a planner. And if I may, this planner has been like, it may not seem super thrilling just because it's all black and white, but I have been begging for this thing you'd think I would have had some pull, but for the longest time, because I just wanted a black and white layout where I could put all the colorful things on and, you know, do my own color scheme for the week and have it not clash. So yes, there's product that coordinates with the book. It can be used alone. It can be used in conjunction with the book. You can use them all together. It's just, they were my favorites. And since it was the timing of the book coming out, I wanted to have just a collection of things with the stickers that I use and that have the quotes from the book and even some of the practices. So yes and no.
So the chat room is really hopping with comments since you shared some of the product. People are loving the black and white planner. Just like everything that you shared.
Yes, and of course, you know, we had to have the sticker book. So there's 2, Happy Goals and Live Creatively. One's more functional because I'm like obsessed with the colorful boxes. So this is in the color scheme, has a lot of those. And then this has a lot of quotes about wellness and some of the chapters in the book, the cute script that one of our designers, Gianna Wilson, did. They're actually in stickers here. So those do coordinate with the book if you're taking notes. So yeah, so I was so excited to get my hands on them. I'm afraid to use them now because I'm one of those people, I kind of can hoard things. So they're sitting here full sticker sheets and I'm like, well, I guess I've shot all the previews now. So I suppose I could use them.
Can you share the dates of the planner?
Oh yeah, it's a 12-month planner, and it starts January 2021, which should be just going off, right? We should be having like the best year ever. So it's January 2021 through December of that same year. And then the journal is undated.
And Jennifer's asking, how do you find happy during these tumultuous times?
You know, I'm not gonna lie, I had a really, really tough time at the beginning of this, and I was not very happy, to be honest with you. And I work at it. I work at really finding really getting down to what am I struggling with, journaling through my emotions, and then figuring out, even if it's one little thing, like, you know what, I'm just happy to go sit out in my backyard and watch the sunset. And find the happiness in that. And then the next day, what else can I be happy? So little bits at a time when it's difficult. I know a lot of people are out of jobs and people are sick, and, and it's not always easy to come by happiness. And I create it. I create the little tiny pieces of happiness in my day. And I think it's most important when it's hard. That's the most important time. So when you're struggling, that's when I think it's the most important that we learn to just find those little nuggets, just those little things like, I'm happy that I woke up and I'm healthy today. That's enough. That's enough to be, thankful for.
Well said. Can you share a little bit about the downloads that were sent?
I know that there are downloads. Did they come with, I'm not sure about the specifics and the logistics of it. I knew that they were happening, but I don't know what they are. That's part of like not actually working in the office day to day. I used to know everything, and now I'm like, I don't know everything, which is, Stephanie would know, this is very hard for me, by the way, not knowing everything. So I don't know, Terry, I'm sorry.
No problem. We'll figure that one out for everyone. So Sarah writes, I love the idea of a mission statement. When you created your first one, where did you keep it?
I kept mine next to my vision board, which was on a bulletin board on top of my desk. And in the book club, the first week, we are going to create a vision board, and we're also going to create a version of a mission statement, and I just called it the Happy Life Manifesto. So you're going to take what you do in the book, the things that you do, the practices in the book, and all those things that I know you're going to write in your book and fill out. And you're going to take those and take it to the next level by creating basically your own personal mission statement, or your declaration of, which is a manifesto, which is your declaration of your beliefs. So who you are and what you are doing. So I'm excited I'm going to do it again because I loved seeing mine, but I think mine has probably changed a little bit since then.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, I'm going to give this back to you and Stephanie Schroeder.
I just wanted to thank everybody for attending today. And, I saw in the chat there are some people who have already gotten their copies of the book, or they've ordered from somewhere else. But if you want the special Michael's version, you can always give the copy that you ordered to somebody else, to a friend, and you can go through the book together. Just wanted to, again, make sure to check out Stephanie's book, Plan a Happy Life, and the coordinated Happy Planner products and Michael's stores in the US and Canada, and on michaels.com. And have a great evening, everybody.
Hi, can we talk about the downloads real quick before we stop?
Sure.
Okay, the downloads were sent to the attendees on this call before the call started via email. If you'll check your email, you should see an email from Michael's via the AnyRoad system that you received your login for the webinar chat.
Oh, perfect.
And if you will look for that in your email, if you don't see it in your email, check your junk email file and you'll find your downloads there.
Oh, great. Thank you, Deanna. I know I didn't have the answers for that one, so I appreciate that. I know we were going to add or put some quotes or some sort of downloads that will help you take it to the next level. I'll do my homework before the next one, so I know.
The downloads are some special gifts created by our creative team.
Yeah.
There are some Zoom backgrounds, some, I don't remember what the batch was for today's call, but on each session, there are different downloads. So that encourages you to come back and join us on the next chats as well. So, because each time there will be different downloads.
Yeah, and that's a great, next time too, tomorrow, no, is it tomorrow? Not tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday.
Wednesday
Monday,
and
Monday.
Thursday.
So Wednesday
Right.
and Thursday, if you haven't signed up with us to take the next, to come take a part in the next chats, do so. I would love for you to join us because we are going to be going over some different chapters and talking about a little bit more about planning, I think, on Wednesdays. And then beyond that is actually one of the other chapters. So we're going to be doing different content for each one. And like Deanna said, there'll be different downloads for each one. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Thanks for allowing me into your homes or wherever we're joining you. And I hope to see you on the next chat.
Bye-bye.